Welcome to Big Money Monday on the Savvy Radio Show. Get ready, you are about to get paid. This show is designed to increase your financial intelligence every Monday.
Yeah, today is Big Money Monday, and this is the episodes dedicated every Monday to help you understand about money, make money, raise money. Whatever you do is going to take money. All right, today we're going to talk about how does underwriting work? What is underwriting? Now, we're talking about a bank when you go get a loan and they kind of do your background check. Some people call it due diligence. Basically, it's underwriting. People hear it from bankers. They never ask what it means. They nod their head like, yeah, whatever. They're embarrassed. They don't know what the word underwriting means. And if you know underwriting, you know, one up for you, because I really didn't know. I just didn't understand the process. And one day I asked, what is underwriting, from a banker that I knew that with an intimate relationship that it wasn't going to make me look dumb because I didn't know. And I really didn't know. And this episode is to teach you what underwriting is from my perspective. Hopefully this will shed some light. And if you already know what underwriting is, maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Well, first of all, underwriting is a detailed process where the bank looks at you and character as well as your credit history and the property that you're wanting to buy against you. Okay, does that make sense? So think of it as a giant resume. They want to know every single detail, as many details as possible about you. That's what underwriting is. And they do look at your credit history today, in the past, 10 years from now. Also, do you have enough savings, financial emergencies, every detail you can think of. Now, you may not know this, but small banks actually do their own underwriting. Usually it's the vice president. So there's a little tip for you. They do all the research on you. Bigger banks, larger banks, they outsource it. Some banks have a department that just straight does underwriting. But I know a credit union, they do it, they outsource it out. So they may ask preliminary questions like, what's your income to debt ratio? What's your financial statement? And you have a financial statement and then you forward it to them, but then they pass it on to a third party to do the underwriting. And then they kick it back and say, yes, we approve this underwriting. Another thing that I found out, I did a really big loan once at a credit union, and I thought I was dealing with them. I thought I was, applying for the loan through them. Well, come to find out, it was a big enough loan. I guess they outsourced it to a third-party credit analysis. One day they called me up, and they're like, hey, we need you to come in and meet our credit analysis. I was like, who's this? And I showed up to this meeting, and I come to find out this is her job. She's hired like a self-employed person to dig deep into people's credit and to get a history and find out their behavioral aspect. And are they going to pay the loan back? So that's the goal. The goal for underwriting is this guy worthy enough? Is he going to pay it back? So when you're doing real estate, or even in any kind of big element of borrowing large sums of money, they're going to do an underwriting and see if you have the character or the means and the ability and the history to do it. So they're not just like you're going to get a car, they pull your credit report, and they pull it out, and they say, oh, you got a 700 credit score, your interest rate is that. No, that's not necessarily the case in underwriting. So I just want to make sure you understand. Now, when you submit the loan application, it creates a file on you. And now this underwriting process, it's a story about your life. Think of it as a giant resume, or think of it as in school, if you got in trouble, it's in your jacket, it's in your manila folder, and it goes with you all the way. And think of it as the bank is the principal, and they got this file on you, the good, the bad, the all things, and it's a permanent record. Okay, so that's what a credit analysis is. What underwriting is. It's a big giant folder about you. Now, one time I looked into, I saw one of my underwritten packets about me, and it mentioned that I write books in there. Well, that's another means to pay back. Now, I don't make any money writing books, just so you know. I don't see people running out, listening to the podcast, and going to buy a book. It just doesn't happen. And if you do, I appreciate that, and I do need you to do that. But that's not how I make my income. But I thought that was very fascinating that one day they wrote that in there. It was pretty cool. So you got to think about it. You got to be strategic about it. You got to let people know when you have a meeting with your banker or you're having lunch with your banker, give them as much information as possible about you and be strategic in some source. Like I have another source of income, but also this could be used against you as well. If you're making bad decisions or you're trying to take tons of risks, bankers don't like risks. And so you're letting them know that you're taking a risk, like you're refinancing a property so you can open up a Little Caesars. I wouldn't tell a banker that. Now, after the Little Caesars was built and rolling and it's cash flowing, most definitely I would let my banker know and make sure it's in my underwriting packet as soon as possible. So you don't want to come out and say, hey, put this in the underwriting packet or the file. You just want to let them know that you're doing these things, and hopefully this banker that you're growing with will take that in consideration and he'll put it in his memo. You got to think this credit memo, underwriting, all the kind of similar situations. Their goal is that when they get their underwriting done and they feel comfortable with you, they present this information to the board of directors, and that board of directors approves your loan. Now, some bankers have a lending limit that they already can approve on their own, like, well, they're worthy enough to make these decisions. Usually anything over $250,000, they have to have some sort of accountability. They can't just willy-nilly. Now, some banks have up to $1 million. Some banks, if you're dealing with a junior loan officer or a vice president that's just turned vice president, his lending limit only may be up to $100,000 before he has to kind of prove that. And so this banker that you're dealing with, they're constantly working on, or they should be working on your underwriting, and we'll call it from credit memo from here on in. Now, keep in mind, this little packet of information, they're going to show up to a board meeting with this packet. And so then after they kind of put all this together, bankers are examined by examiners. That's right. I don't know if you know this, but every year examiners roll out to the bank. Sometimes they camp out there for a week or so, and they go over every single underwriting jacket, envelope, packet, credit memo, and they critique it. They usually pick ones that are random. So and another thing you got to think about, these credit memos, these packets, these underwriting things are passed down. So if you built a relationship with a banker and he was kind of casual with you, and then he passes that manila envelope down to someone else and he moves to another bank, you have to recreate that at the new bank if he moves and if you follow him and you build a relationship with him, which I definitely recommend. But this guy that's coming behind, he may not like it the way it's written, and he may throw things out of it that may not be relevant at that moment to that banker. Okay. But ultimately, whatever they're putting in there, it's going to be examined. And so they're very keen on what's putting in there. I really have not sat down and looked at an underwriting packet and went over it line by line, but I'm just giving you some tips of what I know already. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, here's a couple of things that you need to start doing when you are borrowing money. All right. First, you've got to build a relationship with a banker. And I definitely recommend community banks. You want to deal with the people that are going to loan you the money. If you walk into Bank of America and you ask for a home loan or a business loan, and that's what we're talking about, majority of this episodes are over business money, they're going to farm it out to someone else. You want to find a community bank roughly 50 million up to 200 million in assets. And you can find this very specifically. Go onto their website and read about that bank. Find a community bank in your area and start building a relationship. Usually it's the vice president. You should build a relationship with the president. You should build a relationship with everybody in the bank, because that bank is going to help you build your wealth. That's what it is. You should not be intimidated by the banker. They may look differently. You may be blue collar and wear jeans and they wear a suit, but they need you to grow their business and you need them to grow your business. Now, how do you find these banks? That's the biggest question I get all the time. Where are you finding these banks, and how long, how much money are you borrowing from these banks, and how does it work? And over the next several months, we're going to go dive even deeper into each section. But for this real quick answer, go to your local real estate club meeting and ask a successful real estate investor, where do you borrow your money from? It's that simple. If you call me and ask me or text me or email me, I'm going to just shoot you an email back with 3 banks that I work with on a regular basis. It makes me look good to refer them, and you already have your way in. I can tell you a story where I was kind of tapped out at a bank and I needed to borrow more money. And I really exercised all the banks that I knew locally. I talked to an investor that's much bigger and larger than me, and he's like, call this guy. It was 30 minutes away. I called that banker. I said, hey, blank, 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 give me your name, and wanted to do business with you and see if we can work together. Now, don't call up there saying, I need money. Say, see if we can do business together, see if we're on the same plan. I set up an appointment, and $500,000 later, I borrowed the money. It was very simple. And I think a lot of it had to do with the referral that I received. And that customer that I name dropped, he had an intimate relationship. He even followed up and called them and said, hey, thanks for sending Van Callenberg to me, and so on and so forth. Okay. So it's a relationship business. Look on each website and find out who the vice president, who's the president, get the visual, who they are. You never know where you're going to run into them, and you want to build a relationship and you want to let them know who you are. Okay. Make sure you do that. Start now. If you want to build an empire, a real estate portfolio of millions of dollars, you cannot do it by flipping property one at a time. The only way that you can grow your business to the size that you want it to go, if that's your desire, is through banks. All right. Hopefully that helps you. And whenever you do set up an appointment with a bank, and you should, some bankers are extremely busy. Some bankers are available. Some bankers only deal with millionaires. Some bankers don't. Don't be intimidated. Find the banker. Find the bank that's going to work with you. When you do schedule this appointment to meet with them, hopefully you went to an RIA and you found a name and you heard this name several times. And when you finally sit down with this banker, now your first time you're not going to take them out to lunch, or they're not going to take you out to lunch, but you're going to set a meeting. It's going to be around 15 to 30 minutes. They're going to ask you what your goals are. What are your goals? Do not say that you want to do a no money down deal. No banker in the world wants to work with someone that just runs their mouth and says, hey, I watched a video, or I bought a course, I went to a seminar, and now I'm ready to do real estate. Have some goals in mind. You know, you want to acquire 2 or 3 more rental properties. And if it's your first time, be upfront. You might need to have some collateral, maybe some equity in your property that you live in, and all this stuff that we're going to cover in the next couple of months. But hopefully that gets you going, and hopefully that you get off the couch, that you make an appointment, and you'll be nervous. And I was mortified. I didn't even know what a financial statement was. And the banker that was so gentle with me pulled out a blank financial statement and started filling it in. He's like, what houses do you own? I own these 5 houses. What cars do you own? I own these cars. And what's your income come? That's a financial statement. It's real simple. Hopefully this encourages today. Have a great day. You're learning this information so you can buy assets, so you can be financially free and be independent and help more people and grow. Whatever you do, go buy assets. If you like this episode, please comment. If you want more episodes, if someone just gave you this episode or sent you a text, that's rad. But we have tons more on SavvyRadioShow.com. Have a great day.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch meeting? The 3rd Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.